The New York Knicks are one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now, and it's due to a major trade that they did at the deadline, acquiring OG Anunoby from the Toronto Raptors, shipping off RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley to Toronto, and oh my goodness, they are insane on the defensive side of the ball. Their offense hasn't been so complicated. It's been a lot better. Before the OG Anunoby trade, their odds to win the title were plus 7,000. Now they're currently plus 3,400. They've been playing at a very high level, and I love what Jalen Brunson is doing for this team. I believe he got snubbed big time from the NBA All-Star game as a starter. He is a superstar in this league, and the New York Knicks are playing an incredible level of basketball right now. Since the beginning of 2024, this team is 13-2, and they've been one of the hottest teams in basketball. They've climbed all the way up to the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. New York is positioning themselves to potentially make a big-time run in the Eastern Conference. Looking at this team offensively, their heart and soul and number 1 player, Jalen Brunson, a guy that so many criticized when the New York Knicks made this move. People said that he would not be good enough to get this team over the hump, that he wasn't good enough to be a team's number 1 overall player. But Jalen Brunson has been dang near playing like an MVP. He's putting up nearly 27 points per game. He's been the catalyst and the reason why the New York Knicks have gone on this crazy win streak, and Jalen Brunson is playing like a superstar in the NBA right now. Now Julius Randle, the number 2 for this team, putting up 24 points a game. He's had a good season, but I think we need to see more from him on the offensive side of the ball on a night in and night out basis. He needs to be more consistent for the New York Knicks to be considered as a real threat, in my opinion. I still think they're a consistent Julius Randle and maybe another piece away from being able to win a title in terms of trying to take down a team like Boston or Milwaukee, but that doesn't mean they can still potentially give one of those teams a run for their money in the Eastern Conference. Then you look at OG Anunoby, a guy that's putting up nearly 16 points per game, a guy that has been a phenomenal defender for the New York Knicks and is making this team one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. Looking at this team with OG Anunoby on the defensive side of the ball, they have the 7th best defensive rating and the 7th best defensive efficiency. Now what Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are doing offensively, this team has the 10th best offensive rating and the 9th best offensive efficiency. In total, the New York Knicks have the 5th best net rating in the entire NBA, and I really don't think enough people are talking about them right now. Let's admit it, basketball is better when the New York Knicks are a fun and good franchise. Jalen Brunson makes this team exciting. He gives them this X factor that we haven't seen on this team since probably Carmelo Anthony. I've talked about this so often. When you look at the outlook of the Eastern Conference, the teams who are slated 1 through 8 who could theoretically make a playoff run, you have the Celtics and the Bucks who are at the top, but you look at this gray area from number 3 down to number 7, from the 76ers to the Heat. I've talked about how any one of these teams could realistically get hot and have a good shot at making the Eastern Conference Finals. It feels like the Boston Celtics are the only team that have solidified themselves as the number 1 team in the East, maybe the number 1 overall team in the NBA. You look at the Milwaukee Bucks, the issues they're having on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, they just fired Adrian Griffin. Now they have Doc Rivers. The Philadelphia Sixers have not been consistent all season long. Joel Embiid has been missing a lot of games. What's going to happen there? Then you look at the New York Knicks. They've been one of the hottest teams in basketball, 13-2, like I mentioned, in the new calendar year. They could give Philadelphia or Milwaukee a real run for their money. The Cleveland Cavaliers have been great offensively. Donovan Mitchell is such a special talent. You look at the Indiana Pacers. They have one of the best offenses in NBA history with what Halliburton's doing. This run and gun offense, they could potentially make a run. The Miami Heat, nobody wants to see them come postseason time with what Jimmy Butler can do. How will Terry Rozier gel with this new lineup? They're definitely not out of the conversation, even though they've been struggling. When you look at the New York Knicks in terms of being a true contender in the Eastern Conference, they're a great defensive team with OG Anunoby, and they're balanced on the offensive side of the ball. Will Julius Randle show up in the big moments like we haven't seen in the previous postseasons? I'm not sure, but if he can show up, I truly believe that New York could be an Eastern Conference Finals sleeper. I haven't loved what I've seen from Milwaukee. I haven't loved what I've been seeing from Philadelphia. New York has been on fire. Don't be surprised if this team can rattle off some big time wins in the postseason and potentially make a run at that Eastern Conference Finals. Jalen Brunson is a superstar in the NBA, and the Knicks are currently the hottest team in basketball. I'm Caden Kubler, and that's my take.